Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hollywood Matt Connelly with the double biceps. It is a legally required and contractually scheduled moment that has to happen every single time we appear on camera. It's in the fine print. It's very small. Didn't see it when I signed the contract. My co-host, co-founder, co-breather of air, co-wearer of clothes, the master of disaster, the king of sting, the Count of Monte Cristo, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award. It is, in fact, Dave Stockbridge.
Thank you very much for that very warm welcome, Hollywood Matt Connelly.
I enjoyed doing the intro. It's flowing now. It just naturally comes. It's like, where did you do the intro? Okay, great. And it just whoop.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
That's right. It's great. And I get people saying, like, because I do that silly double biceps thing, like, a lot. And I get people saying, oh, yeah, but, you know, it's in the contract. And it's in the contract. It is. So. Yeah.
that's it. You can feel less like a dick because now people feel like it is a legal obligation.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly right. People will seek damages if they do not see the double bicep.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I've got it on the shirt. So it's implied that I've done it.
So if you don't do it in person, you can still say, well,
you did get to see it.
There is some form of it still displayed upon my body.
That's right. Yeah. It's definitely not something that I made up just to show off my arms or anything.
That's right. So your arms might be thought of as trophies, Matthew. And we were just talking a little bit off air about your little history with trophies there, and quite a successful table tennis player as a young man, highly ranked at a state level. Is that correct?
It is.
That was very interesting to find out, man. I didn't know. I didn't think you had it in you.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always hoping that you would be a table tennis player.
Yeah. So are you has your life just revolved around table sports?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about that.
So the pool or arm wrestling,
foosball. When I was a teenager, I really got into table tennis. And
how did that happen?
Well,
how does a young man fall into table tennis?
It's a dangerous drug. Table tennis.
It's just the wrong crowd at school.
It ropes you in and sucks you in for years.
It started off with a Chinese exchange student.
That's right. We had a table at home and just used to mess around. I was about maybe 13 or something or other. Mm-hmm. And I was just looking for something new to do, and luckily for me,
what were you doing before that, by way of a sport?
I was doing some karate stuff.
Okay.
I think it was tennis. Actually,
was karate inspired by Karate Kid?
Yes.
So you saw Karate
I just wanted
Kid.
to wear the headband.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that thing where you flip from your knees to your feet.
Okay, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And was it after the first movie or the second movie that you?
There is only one original Karate Kid movie.
You saw the first Karate Kid and went, that's it.
That's me.
I'm in.
Yeah. I do remember getting the Karate Kid show bag.
Huh.
Yeah, and they had these nunchucks in there that were made of plastic.
Yep.
That lasted about 3 seconds.
The fully one end would just fling off and hit the dog in the eye or something like that.
If it hit anything, it would just break it.
It was designed as such. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that is a weapon now. You can get here in the state of South Australia, if you're caught with nunchucks, this is for all the people at home who are now twirling their nunchuck while they're listening.
Yeah. Probably thinking, hang on, I've got some nunchucks somewhere. Get them out while I listen to these lads.
That's right.
Yeah.
$5,000 fine now.
$5,000 just for brandishing some nunchucks.
Yeah.
Is it if you conceal them or if it open carry, $5,000? So if you happen to have them in the back of your pants, like tucked in, jacket over the top, you're fine. No, that's okay.
Yeah. So, if you're dressed in a Ninja Turtle outfit, but only if you've got the orange bandana, then you're okay.
That's the only set of circumstances in South Australia where nunchucks can be displayed openly.
The police put up I remember seeing they had a poster of all these weapons, and now anyone caught carrying these weapons will, it's a $5,000 fine. And there were like flick knives and,
Were your biceps mentioned in those, in that list?
Deadly weapons. $5,000 fine. I'm sick of paying it. I have to do it all the time. Every time I do this. Yeah. But nunchucks are on that list, and ninja stars. So if you have ninja stars as well.
Imagine how many samurais are just going,
oh man. Yeah, but if they're decorative ninja stars, I think you can get away with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
With little round bits at the end.
That's right.
Just,
Just colour the tips red or something.
Yeah.
I know they're decorative ones.
Yeah, it's a
they will still
part
kill
of a
you.
Halloween costume. It's fine. It's fine.
That's
So,
right.
so you were quite a high performing young man. So you discovered the grand old sport of table tennis.
Yeah.
And sorry, is it table tennis? Is it ping pong? What it's a because you can upset some people that are serious about the sport by calling it by the wrong name.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we always called it table tennis.
Table tennis.
I think ping pong is a slightly different version of it.
Okay.
From my understanding,
Right,
is that you would hit the ball on your side of the table first, like every time.
In ping pong?
Yes.
Right.
Whereas in table tennis, you only do that on the serve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So, right. Gotcha.
Yeah. From that point on.
Yeah. Is there a rivalry amongst those two camps? Like, is it? I'd imagine.
I don't think so, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm correct on that ping pong is done that way, and it might just be that that's a different name for the sport. But your table tennis is the one that we went with.
Table tennis, and so you got a feel for the sport at home.
Yeah.
in the comfortable confines of home and the encouraging, under the encouraging eye of your parents, and then you thought, you know what, I'm born of bigger and better things than the driveway. I'm going to take this to the next level.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take this game inside so the ball doesn't stop blowing around, and I'm going to. So, was there a club nearby? Or?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
There was Southern Table Tennis Association.
Okay. It sounds quite officious.
Yeah, very officious.
Yeah.
Very prestigious.
Yeah.
And litigious.
Sounds like the Eton College of Table Tennis down south. Yeah.
They had a Friday night juniors thing. That
Okay.
and that's where I started.
Yeah.
Do you know with doubles, like if you play doubles, you hit the ball and then your partner has to hit the ball. You have to take it in turns.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Right. So if it came your way, you were like normal tennis.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, I'm hitting that one. And I remember the girl that I was playing with is like, do you know how to play? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I've done this at home. I'm number one in my driveway.
It's like, that was I was supposed to, I'm like, but it was on my side.
So there was a lot to learn early on.
Yeah, that was probably the only thing to learn.
Yeah.
But I started playing the Friday nights, and then on the Tuesday night was the seniors. So I developed a taste for the Friday night competition, which was mainly kids,
Yeah. So you're just destroying
Yeah.
kids.
Well,
at
I
that stage.
improved to the point where I could play in the seniors level on the Tuesday night. And
Big step up.
I was approached. by
You got tapped by the committee.
by one of the little clubs that ran out of the Southern Table Tennis Association.
Oh, okay.
They would
So
have
they
these
saw some
different little
promise.
groups.
So this is like the draft.
Yeah.
This is like the draft. Somebody's been keeping an eye on you.
That's right.
They've got a particular type of hat. I can't imagine. I'd imagine each scout would have their own style
Fez, mainly fezzes.
so mainly variations of the Fez theme, and they'd be watching, thinking, "That kid's got promise."
That's right.
I've been watching him
Yeah.
for the last 5 weeks
That's right. He can hit the ball over the net.
since he stopped hitting the girls' shot. He got real good. So they you got tapped.
I did, yeah, by
tapped.
the Christie's Beach team.
Right.
Yeah.
It could have been anyone.
It could have been the Pimpala team. But
No one wanted to play for them
I didn't want to because their name's too close to Pimple. But
Fair enough. We've all got our reasons.
yeah, well, that was my reason at 13 years old. But yeah, I remember the sales pitch that the Alvin gave me.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did have a stutter, which it wasn't a great sales pitch, but it was
It took a while. Yeah.
got there in the end. And he basically sold me on the fact that the Christie's Beach team was the best guys going around, and he showed me on the board the divisions, all these teams. You see how Christie's Beach is on the top, and we think that you can
You know
play
why
with
it's
us.
on the top? Because he's been nailing that pitch for the last 25 years.
That's right. You'd
He's
think
just
he would
hitting
have
up
perfected it.
13-year-old kids just like, yeah, that kid doesn't look like he's got a strong father figure. I'm going to approach
me,
him.
sonny.
We've got the best team. We've got the best guys. We've got the best
best.
tables. Our balls are shiny. So he lured you over. Was there any kind of inducement, or was it just basically come on, we're the best.
Yeah.
We're the best. You'd be silly to go with the Pimpala Knights. Who wants that?
They should have had nicknames. It was just like the area, you know.
Let me tell you the story about my brother. He went over to Pimpala and
never came back.
Yeah.
Different from then on.
He didn't come back the same man.
Came back as a sister.
Yeah. Without a backhand.
That's right. Could only do forehands. Yeah. So I started playing for the Christie's Beach team, and I think it was like in Division 4 or something, you know. But yeah, it was improving rapidly. Really enjoying it, playing Tuesdays and Fridays, and then Morris, who runs the Southern Table Tennis Association.
Caught his eye.
Old Morris,
Okay,
yeah.
old Morris. They've been waiting in the background in the smoky corner of the room.
Right, it's just a dark shadow and a cigarette lighting up every now and then. No, he didn't smoke, but
Which made it strange. That people,
yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
He really went to a lot of effort for that. So they had a junior development team, and he asked if I'd want to be on that, which I said, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we started training and doing, you know, Saturday mornings and
is your sensei calling up going, Matt, where are you? We've been waiting for you to come back to the club.
for karate.
Yeah.
No, not really. No.
No, never heard from them again.
No, not really.
So you're forging this pathway in table tennis, and are you winning at this stage? Are you rising through the ranks? You're beating some big names in the Southern Vales League. The biggest names.
Absolutely. No, I did actually do quite well, and through that, I was literally playing 6 days a week, all over the state, entering tournaments every single weekend. We had a team, like from the Southern Table Tennis team, and there was a few other junior teams around, and we would all sort of meet up every weekend and play against each other. Yeah, but ended up going through the state tournaments and then competed in the national tournament and came third in Australia for under 20 men's and
under 20.
Yeah,
third best player in the country.
I was. I don't have the medal anymore, but I did have a medal.
and you were saying off air, there was some point where you just thought you'd accumulated a lot of trophies, a lot of awards, and as a lot of athletes that are hitting their straps and moving with quite a strong trajectory in their sporting careers, and yet you got to a point where you threw them all away.
I did.
So what led to you just thinking, I don't need any of these anymore?
I was probably 21. I'd stopped playing when I was about 17, 18. I finished high school and I was doing other things, and playing table tennis 6 days a week was like, I'd sort of lost some interest in it. And a few years later, I'd been carting these trophies around from how you're trying to find your place to stay or to live or whatever, and it's like I've got to pick up 400 trophies, and there was so many, and it was like I had them all in my cupboard, and I could barely fit my clothes in there, and I'm like, these are just annoying me. Like I've got them, I won them, I enjoyed them, and now I'm just going to get rid of them. So I got garbage bags and filled like 10 garbage bags full of trophies and just took them down and threw them in the bin.
Much to the ire of your father.
He wasn't happy. Why did you throw all those away? Like,
I've been living vicariously through you for years now.
Right.
What have you done to our past? How will you treat our future?
Yeah, he did say why he got annoyed about it, and it was that when he was younger, if you got a trophy, it was really meant something. Like it was something special, and he had some football trophy that.
Well, that's because you only won one, Dad.
Well, pretty much. Yeah, he still had the football one that he had, and it was broken. The leg had come off, and
it was like injury of the year, wasn't it?
Well, I think I originally did have a leg.
It did have a leg, so
and it may have been me that dropped it. So I don't know what happened. So did it always have a leg? Are you sure?
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah. So, but to him it was like trophies really meant something. For me, it was like. I've had, when you've got a plethora of them, it was like, okay, but they still have those plaque ones at Southern Table Tennis, like the ones where it's a giant big trophy, and they put people's names.
Oh
on
yeah,
certain years.
like association trophy and
Yeah.
whatever, and they're there for they're held in cabinets. So
yes.
your name's etched into the side of a
is.
couple of those. Well, that's nice, isn't
I
it?
went back there recently, and Morris is still there.
Oh, Morris.
Yeah. Still in
Still
the corner.
getting behind young talent.
Just want to look for the cigarettes. No. He's never smoked ever. But I just dropped in with a friend that I met through playing table tennis, and he's my business partner now. So I've known him for so long. And he recently got...
Who was the better table tennis player?
Me.
Okay.
Just like me. Yeah. Although right now he'd probably be better. But
It could be a better arm wrestler.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so he had also stopped for a very long time and just recently got back into it. And so he was going down there for Monday night practice, which they'd still do. And he's like, "Do you want to come on?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I dropped in, and then Morris was there, and he's like, "Come over, and here's the
Morris has still got you. I've still got your bat, your favorite bat. I still got it.
just the dust off of it."
He's kept it in a glass case. He smashed the case.
That's right. He's here. It's happened. Yeah. But he's like, there's the cabinet with the trophies, and those photos of the talent team back then, and I'm like, that's me, and so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was like, my
nice.
name's still there. That's good.
Morris still talks to you about you to those young stars, those young emerging stars of the Southern Vales League.
Yeah,
you could be another Matt Connelly.
Maybe, yeah.
Without the cigarette.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It just does that.
It just some stylistic reasons.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's an interesting little insight. And did was it just basically good times and women and partying and stuff that kind of took over at that point?
Oh.
Was that the reason for the end, like job responsibilities, or
I thought you meant like in table tennis.
I'd imagine it'd be a big party
Groupies,
world in the table tennis world, especially Southeast Asia. I mean, they get treated different over there.
They would, yeah.
So, but I'd imagine things would be a bit different down at Christie's Beach Club.
Yeah, it was frowned upon.
No,
not really. Pretty much exactly that. So I'd finished high school. I was 17, 18, going out with friends and looking to start your life in those terms.
And you realised that girls weren't impressed by table tennis trophies.
I mean,
not to the same degree that Morris was.
Yeah, if only Morris was a girl. No, it was just when you hit that point and you're getting pulled in all these different directions, and you've got options that you never had before because now you're legally an adult and you can do things that you couldn't do before. You're driving and you're going to parties and you're meeting people, and the idea of training 6 days a week in table tennis, it's like I'd sort of hit what I wanted to do. The highest you can get in table tennis is the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I was never.
And after you won gold, there was just no point in continuing on.
Yeah, well, I didn't win gold.
You missed out. I
was not good enough.
Was there any talk of you competing in the Sydney Olympics, for instance, or something? Was that ever a build-up moment for you potentially?
No, I knew the level that I was at was not good enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I was even though I got that third position, that was from that national tournament. But to repeat that or to keep that level up was. Yeah, the guys that were ahead of me were way ahead, and that was under 20s. And then you've got the actual, like the men's division, which is the ones that are competing into the Olympics. So
is table tennis, to my mind, is a little bit like the inversion of Formula One, where like there's just instead of no Asians being in the top 10, they're all Asians in the top 10. I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's a very popular sport there, and it seems to be cultural that most sports you'll find some. Country or some region of the world is really dominant. Yeah, and definitely Asia has the dominant side in table tennis, and I think in badminton as well.
Badminton, big badminton fans. Yeah. I think they like anything that's played on a small area. So, yeah, so
that's right.
Well, where did you put your energies? Because you tend to find with a lot of people that have excelled in any particular physical endeavour, they tend to still that manifest somewhere else. So was it at that point that you started training at the gym and taking that more seriously?
Yeah, I was a little lost for a couple of years.
Right.
And it's difficult when you, like you said, if you do go from, and I wasn't like at the highest
Morris
level
does call it the lost years when you're in
lost boys.
Yeah.
He's got a whole folder.
He stopped coming to Monday night trainings, boys.
He's got a folder.
He's
Pictures,
going.
just me looking at the distance.
the middle distance. Just trying to find yourself.
Just a lot of like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, as a young man, it's like, I knew I wanted to do something that
Lots
was
of girls.
yeah. No, I mean, as I said, I've said previously, my idol is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and so I'd always wanted to do like some sort of performance thing, like whether it's acting or it's, presenting or something. And that's where I started to put my energy and time. I started training in the gym at 19. And prior to that, I didn't have any weights at home, so I used to just stuff my school bag full of like soup cans and make it as heavy as I could, and then just do push-ups and stuff like that. I was like, I want to be like, Arnold, and ended up going to TAFE full time to do a diploma in fitness, and did that for 2 years to be a personal trainer, and worked in the gym and that side of things. But yeah, it still wasn't exactly what I don't know. It's a job, I guess, but I actually ended up getting into the security industry, and it was the lure of the nightclubs, and you've got the music, you've got the girls, you've got the fun, the danger element.
It's like the opposite of table tennis.
Yeah. Exactly. That's right. I put it on the resume though when I applied for the security job. Did you know you play table tennis? Yeah, we don't care. Can you stand on a box? Yeah. So got the opportunity to do security work in a bar, and started doing that. Enjoyed the aspect of it, and to a very, very small degree, the celebrity that comes with that, to the tiniest, probably the smallest degree of celebrity you could get.
So you went from hitting balls to hitting bogans.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. But no, that was exciting. There was some exciting times through those years.
I think anytime you control the movement of young women through a door, like things seemingly look up for you. When you're in your early 20s and you've got that degree of control, you can come in and you can't.
The power
that
lies in that door. Yeah. I was never on the door though. I was always inside.
You weren't entrusted with the power.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so. I wasn't never ready.
I did not have a clue what I was doing. I was 23. I was like, no idea what I was doing.
So I mean, what an interesting journey for you in the early part of your sporting life, and it's always interesting when you speak to people that have got a passion in sport. It's normally across sports. It's not just in one particular endeavour, but they tend to enjoy success in one particular endeavour, and then are able to transpose those practices, protocols, whatever it is that probably made you good at table tennis. You were able to kind of say, well, I'm going to apply that now to weight training, and I know I'm going to be good at weight training, or
Yeah.
Did you ever go back to karate?
No.
Sensei's still waiting. Okay.
Yeah, he's still there.
I'm not going to lose another kid. I'm not going to lose another kid to table tennis, I tell you.
Those damn table tennis people. Morris, I'm looking at you. Yes.
Looking straight back at you.
Anytime you're ready. He's got the bats twirling it. Bouncing the ball.
So Hollywood Matt Connelly right here before me is an example of one of the actually it's one of the trophies we didn't give away on Sunday, and that we'll be giving away in a few weeks' time at a date to be determined. And this is the Titans SA Open Last Man Standing trophy, and this remains here because the tournament was such an overwhelming success that we just did not have time for it in the end. The night was drawing on after nearly 6 hours of competition right here at Moonshots. Thank you to the team at Moonshots, Rick Carter and Shane Yeen, to afford us the opportunity to hold the event right here in the centre of the city in the Innovation Precinct. So thank you to the Moonshots team. But we held the event here last Sunday, and over 30 of the best athletes in the Southern Hemisphere descended. Well, certainly in Adelaide, descended onto Moonshots, and there was a great day to be had over the table. So the very, very first, the inaugural.
Second inaugural
Titans Open, and to my mind, an overwhelming success. Hollywood Matt Connelly, and to your mind, sir?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was fantastic. The day went really well and smoothly. We did the straps set up, as in all matches start in straps. I think that worked really well, and it was surprising. I've been editing the videos from it, the whole tournament over the last couple of days. And the first two divisions we had under 70s and under 80s. So it was left arm and right arm. So that's like 4 classes. There was like no fouls at all.
Yeah.
Which is so weird.
Unheard of. Yeah.
And that's 60 matches or something. And 0 fouls, which is unbelievable. You watch any match like on YouTube or whatever, there's fouls galore and restarts and all the rest of it. So it was just flowing really well.
And nobody was happier about that than our commentator for the day, the Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward, who loved the concept of strapping them straight up and getting them ready on the table and not slipping to straps and spending 5 or 6 minutes mucking around. So in your mind, that was a success, is going straight to straps.
I loved it.
Terms of It seemed to make the day go smoothly. It reduced the downtime on table. I think it reduced the fatigue of the athletes on the table before they actually got into arm wrestling as well. So they weren't kind of peaking and beforehand and having that adrenaline dump perhaps prematurely. They were ready, and I think also a lot of the athletes had practiced working in straps prior to the day, so we're very prepared for the event, and that showed through in the results.
Absolutely, yeah. It flowed so well, and having I don't know, when you watch arm wrestling, it frustrates me. The slipping frustrates me. It's annoying. And I see a lot of it, and most of the time when they slip, it's somebody just getting away with not losing, and it's very obvious that they've deliberately got away. And it's like, if they're losing their hand, I'm getting away with that.
Yeah,
and it's like everyone knows that that's what happened, but okay, now we got to get the strap. And it's like, you just start in the strap, like.
Yeah, it's also one of the reasons why the Titans Open wasn't a state championship, because it fell outside of the rule set and the auspices of the Arm Wrestling Federation of Australia, who said if you're going to run a competition and call it state titles, then it has to conform with our rule set. And we were quite adamant that wasn't something that we felt was something we wanted to administer for the day, which would have probably added another 2 hours to the event overall, which would have stretched it out to an 8-hour-long event, which you really are testing the attention span of the athletes. And but I would say, there's very minor variations to the arm wrestling theme. Like going straight to straps, improves the watchability of the day. I think made it more exciting and dynamic for the athletes, because there was a flow across the table of athletes all day. And I think if the athletes are prepared and are agreeable to it and understand that that's what they're competing, they're the rules that they're competing over. They didn't. From the athlete's perspective, didn't mind at all.
Absolutely. Well, it does reduce their wear and tear as well in a tournament. So you're going to get better performances as the tournament goes on, as opposed to, say, every single match you get a slip and then a restart and then another slip or you get strapped, and it's like it can go on and on. and it's like fouls and restart and again to get the win. And you might have pinned somebody like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's like, but this one was the official one because, that was a foul, or he fouled, and then this, and now you're in strap. And it's like, so you've gone through, say, 3 or 4 actual pulls of matches before you get to the next round. And whereas what happened with the instant strap was it's one go every single time. And we did running fouls, so it was like straight to the pin pad, and it just flew so well.
Yeah.
It was really strange actually watching this back, like when because I'm just cutting the matches out, and I'm like, there's no fouls here. Like, no one has fouled at all. That's just astounding to me.
Must have made editing all the more joyful.
It was, yeah. But now I keep finding like funny bits of what Jake was saying and adding those in. So,
There's plenty of that through the day as well. So we were very fortunate to be joined by Jake Ward, and Jake was high energy all day and a wonderful touch point for the athletes, and was really supportive of the event. Made sure he was here nice and early. He was actually registering athletes and during the weigh-ins and assisting us, and then behind the mic all day was an absolute superstar and carried through the whole day. I mean, it's really interesting now watching back to the open final, which is really the combination of 5 or 6 hours of competition, and Jake's energy level is as high in that final as what it was for the first call of the day.
That's right.
So it just absolutely outstanding, almost a marathon-like performance from the Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward.
Right. He is the man to do these kind of events. His energy just keeps pushing on through, and even at the start of the year when we had the over the top tournament in the Gold Coast, and I think he probably was talking for maybe 11 hours straight. Same thing, same energy, high the whole time, funny, charismatic, keeping the audience interested, knowing what's going on.
So he says that was his audition for Larry Wheels, but I mean, it was really his audition for us, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. It was all to get here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But just a mega performance, and somebody who his presence at the event was something that the athletes absolutely loved, and watching back the video makes it all the more entertaining. I mean, there were some fantastic matchups during the course of the day. The arm wrestling itself was entertaining, but to hear yourself and Jake commentate the event, which was by the way a wonderful balance. Anybody watching it back will hear that you've got specialized knowledge of the athletes, and you've got some really insightful calls, and then you've got Jake embellishing everything with color and vibrancy, and in his own particular Aussie arm wrestler style. Raining down comments throughout the day.
Kept making me laugh the whole time. That's great. Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to make sure that I didn't try to. I mean, we brought Jake in. He's literally the weekend prior to our tournament. He was in Dubai calling one of the biggest events of the year.
Yeah,
as not only the MC, but he did commentary and he did the press conference. And it's like he's at that level. Like he's the elite guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I was not trying to compete with him. And it's like, we've got you here for a reason. You are the man. Like, I'm here to support you.
Yeah.
And obviously he doesn't know a lot of our club guys. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to give you the background and a little bit of insight onto who you're watching and what they might do. And then you take it from there, and I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah.
Because it's always interesting when somebody tries to make it about themselves. Yeah. It's like, it's all about me. I've got to talk over somebody else, or It's like,
let me tell you about my table tennis career.
Yeah, exactly.
Jake, just before we get this match underway.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I was very conscious of allowing him to do his thing.
Yeah.
And you see that in the grand final, the video that I've put up there. He was on a roll, and you see me just sitting there smiling. I was enjoying it so much. It was so great. I was sitting there like, he's really firing here. This is awesome. And it was just nice to just be there.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure on me at all. And it's like, if I tried to talk at that point, it would have It's like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's on a flow. Like, let him go. Like, don't make it about you. It's his moment. He's the guy. Like, he's the guy making this call, and he's doing a phenomenal job. I was definitely trying to put myself in a position of support as opposed to, trying to make myself appear better.
Which is strange for a man whose name is Hollywood, isn't it, Jane? But a spectacular performance by both of you, and thoroughly professional, and it looked fantastic on screen, and it was great for viewers who happen to be tuning in, or anybody who happens to see any of the recordings, because you can actually see yourself and Jake in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and as well as you don't have to take your eyes off the action to see that. So the way that it was presented for the viewer was exceptional, and I think was the very best balance of any arm wrestling competition I've seen broadcast so far. So I think the production values were super high. I felt like the event was presented beautifully, and that moreover that the athletes absolutely delivered on the day, and I think we saw some really interesting stories. We saw the re-emergence of Laz the Berserker Bolter, who has been around the top 3 in our part of the world for some time, and has been chipping away, and all of a sudden broke through and became our Open champion. Walked away with $1,000 prize money, so he's now your highest paid arm wrestler in the country, as for last week anyway. He's all of a sudden emerged in the consciousness of the local arm wrestling scene once again, having enjoyed much success in South Africa before migrating to Australia. We also saw quite a frustrated Gunter's Boykov. So Gunter's turned up in exceptional form. He looked amazing. He all of 125 kilos, 6'4" or 6'5" of him. He's a strapping example of a human being, and turned up on the day looking to pick a fight with Mario Tembakis, who early on was slated to join us here for the Titans Open. Was not able to make it due to work commitments, but Gunter's, it looked to me, had done some preparation work in the weeks ahead of last weekend's Open tournament, and I that would have just been a spectacular match to see. So and maybe one we'll see into the future now that Gunter's is looking like he's in competition condition.
Yeah, I'd hope he's just not so disappointed that he's like, forget it, like completely. It was actually, I feel really mad for him to have turned up on the day expecting Mario to be there, and he had to work, and that's fine. He couldn't make it, but I could see the disappointment on Gunter's face.
He was really. It was like the fires had been burning inside for a few weeks. He saw a worthy opponent there in Mario. So maybe that's a super match that's going to happen sometime into the future.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, I don't know, but it's
Gunter's is a bit temperamental, isn't he? He's really reached the heights of in his arm wrestling career, and has kind of sat in the background for the last 3 or 4 years, and retired. I think he stepped away from the table altogether for a period of time there. He's now moved permanently into the space of his church work, and but it just looked like he was on the comeback, and he did look like he was in outstanding condition. So it would be very exciting. It would be very exciting if the Titans Open may have sparked the fires of competition within Gunter once again, and it'd be wonderful to see him rise to the table and threaten the top echelon of Australia's arm wrestlers once more.
I feel really bad for him because it was like this, and because he's been sort of on the fringe for a long time, and the mythical Gunters, he lived like hours away.
Yeah.
And we went and trained with him, once or twice, and he's just crushing all of us like it's nothing. And he hadn't been training or anything like that. And then moved down closer to the club, and every now and then he'll put in an appearance and sort of impart some knowledge onto everyone. And you just know he can just destroy you.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to, compete in the tournament after he found out that Mario wasn't there, because it's like, well, look, I'm just,
it's probably not going to be fair.
Yeah,
as he said.
It's like Mr. Olympia coming in, winning the local state show,
Yeah.
It's but the fact that he turned up for that, and that was the first time in years since he had already retired when I started, and I've been in for 4 years, and it's like, now he's come back, his very first time back, and then he doesn't have an opponent.
So perhaps one of the big stories coming out of the Titans Open is indeed that Gunter Boykov might be on the brink of a return to competitive arm wrestling in this country. And then how does that tip the balance of who's our top three or four in the country when you put Gunter Boykov into the mix? I mean, this is it's going to upset the apple cart and the hierarchy at the top echelons of the sport here in Australia if Gunter's once again starts turning up at nationals perhaps, or at one of the bigger competitions that might well find its way onto the calendar in the not too distant future.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to see a matchup with him and Ryan Bowen, him and Lachlan Adair, him and Mario, the top guys in the country. I don't think he would compete in a tournament format. I just don't think he's wanting to do that.
He probably needs a worthy adversary to super match with. I think that's probably something where he can train specifically for a particular athlete, and also because I really do feel like Gunter's could take on anybody. I mean, he's physically. Well, he's physically at another level to any of the top echelon of Australian arm wrestlers in terms of his overall frame. He carries 125 kilos, like you and I would carry 85.
Yeah,
he's a lean 125 kilograms, and he's got wrists of steel, He claims his hands aren't that big, but his fingers are long, and his levers are outrageous, and he still stands at 6'4", 6'5". I mean, he's just a mammoth human being. So I as muscular as the Lachlan Adair may well be, and as powerful as his physique is, I don't know if Lachlan's got the natural physical attributes of say Gunter Boykov. Just the genetic makeup of the man is something that's truly exceptional.
Absolutely, yeah. And if they had a match, if they said, who's going to win? I don't know. I haven't seen Gunter compete in person. As I said, he was retired by the time I got in the sport. It just feels unstoppable to me. But Lachlan also felt unstoppable to me. So
it's just the degrees of unstoppableness.
Yeah.
So another big story that came out of the Titans Open was young Hamza the Hammer Hodgick, who has been an emerging talent within the club over the last 6 or 12 months. And probably a few months ago, even yourself and I would feel like we would be able to handle young Hamza on the table quite comfortably. That is certainly not the case now. No. The last couple of months, I think he's grown 5 inches, put on 15 kilos, and this 17-year-old boy is now 90 kilos, 6'4" himself, huge levers, big hand, and knows how to use it all. He's connected, and was a real surprise packet on the day because he found himself on the table against Laz, who's got a very similar kind of build and structure, and in some respects, even stylistically, you can see Hams has certainly been influenced by Laz and his training sessions with Laz in the lead up to this tournament, but to see Hams handle Taron Broad in the way that he did, and to give Taron so much trouble a shock. It's certainly not something I expected to see. Hamza top rolling through Taryn's hook. And Taron not being able to force his way through, and as strong as we know that Taron Broad is, to see that on the other side of the table is a young, skinny 17-year-old kid who's taking it all and giving as much back and almost walking away with the win. Was I think speaks to Hamza's dedication to the sport over recent times, but moreover, his raw talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's doing amazing things. His progression is just outstanding.
Is he the best schoolboy in the country? Is he the best junior in the country?
Maybe. He's definitely one of the best arm wrestlers in the state.
Would he have beaten you at table tennis at the age of the same age, 17?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, but he did a fantastic job on the weekend, and he just continues to get better and improve. Every week that he comes to training, he's stronger and knows more. I don't know if he's watching videos and practicing certain techniques, but he's got an all-round game. He's very explosive when he needs to be. He has strategy. His hand control is fantastic, and he was very close to winning a match against Taron Broad, who was the favourite for the event, the number one seed by far, and in training for the last couple of years hasn't really been threatened. I don't think he's been pinned in training for like 2 years. So to see Hamza getting close, and I think he would have continued. It was basically a repeat of what Lass did with Taron in the grand final. It was a low hand top roll. I think Hamza just ran out of gas. He pushed and he was close for, I don't know, maybe
and
30
Hamza
seconds.
had a war beforehand as well. I mean, this is something else to keep in mind. Hamza was spent by the time he was on the table with young Taron Broad, who was a powerhouse. So, I mean, this is even, I guess, from my perspective, why his performance can be thought of as even more impressive, because of what he'd gone through in the lead up to that final, or that semi-final.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's the way that tournaments sort of play out, and that's the advantage and disadvantage of a tournament. Is sometimes people can win when then maybe they're not the best arm wrestler of the day because their opponent has had several wars leading up to their match. I do prefer super matches for that reason, but yeah, it's sort of if you have some very difficult matches and then you go into a semi-final or a final and your arm is already exhausted. But Hamza had several matches leading up to that point, and he was close. He was close to beating Taron, which I was very surprised at.
Well, and somebody else who came very close was the hitman, young Tyler. I mean, he just an outstanding performance. Bit of a dark horse. He's such a quiet young man, but there he was. I mean, living up to his name and hitting hard straight off the bat. His pace was exceptional from the ready go. Probably quickest off the ready go of anybody in the club by far. But it's powerful as well, and almost finding his way to the pad against some very highly rated competition.
Absolutely, yeah. So he made it to the overall class, and there was 4 people that I put into the overall that had placed first or second in their division. A couple of the guys from the lighter weights had left; they'd gone home, but I don't think that would have been a factor in the overall at that point anyway. But so Tyler, the Berserker, Lasmother, Taron Broad, and Hamza were the top 4 in the overall. And yeah, Tyler did a fantastic job on the day, and he was just a little tiny bit behind those 3 top guys. But to be sort of in that position, yeah, he has improved significantly. I think he's been training with Taron, and his strength has improved a lot. His technique has gotten better. His style is very different to a lot of other people, and that's why I call him the Hitman. Because it is explosion, and it's explosion. It's either going to pin you or it doesn't, and then he's going to gear up for another one.
It's coming. It's just another wave coming from the tsunami.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just building up. It's building up, and when it comes, you better be ready.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no slowly get into this position, work to get here, take a breath there. It's like give it everything, and if it didn't work, wait a second, give it everything again.
But a couple of the lightweight guys were quite prolific through the day. So we saw some of the lighter pullers that, of course, qualify to compete throughout the day against their heavier opponents. But Ryan Dalton didn't seem to leave the table for much of the early part of the day. Every second fight, he was on the table. And young Goku.
Yes.
So was quite the surprise packet. I think he's been easing up at training a little bit, but he came out and enjoyed a great deal of success on the day.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, with the chameleon, Ryan Dalton, his nickname's the Chameleon, and the best line of the day that Jake said was he's called the Chameleon, but we've seen him all day because he was in nearly every second match. He pulled in every division, which is awesome. I mean, if you want to, if you come into a tournament, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
You got nothing to lose by going in. Even if you get beaten straight away, well, so what? It's more time on the table.
Yeah.
And you might win a match. And he did quite well. He did very well in the under 70s division, and it was great to be able to have an under 70s division.
Indeed,
to have enough competitors to do that. But yeah, with Goku, man, it was the funniest thing because his confidence kept getting more and more.
Yeah,
and it was like the flourish and the swagger kept increasing
as the day progressed. Yeah.
For the first match, he was very normal, coming up. I think he went against buddy cop Robert in his first match, and he caught Robert and just stared at him and then just went and pinned him like he was nothing. And it was like, oh, yeah. And then the next one, he was a little bit more like, yeah, I got this on the man. But that increased. It kept increasing.
And no one would beat him. So he just get...
it was... When he was walking up to the table, he had this I don't think I've ever seen a more confident swagger.
It's the air of invincibility. That's what he'd adopted.
That's right. Yeah, he swaggered up, and I was like, "Oh, what is this? Who is this guy?" And then the shirt sleeve came up at some point.
I saw that. Yeah,
showing the guns.
He got that out.
And then he did there was a flourish that he was doing to put his elbow on the to get ready. He was really exaggerating this big swing to put his arm there.
Quite dramatic. Yeah.
It was like, whoa, what's this? I've never seen him do this before.
Showmanship from the young man.
It was fantastic. And he did end up winning the right arm class.
Yeah.
So it was great. Yeah, he did such a good job. And his first ever tournament as well. So, it was really cool to see that.
And it was fantastic that a whole bunch of young athletes that hadn't had the chance to compete before were able to make their way to the table. And also fantastic to see some veterans like Tim the Viking Graham come and not only referee for the day, but also give it their best on the table. And awesome for the younger athletes to also have that chance to be able to compete with somebody of Tim's experience and to see how to handle themselves in that type of environment, in that highly competitive environment. So it was all around a spectacular experience and a great day, enjoyed by all. And well done to yourself, Matt. I know it was a massive effort in terms of organisation and getting it all together and setting it all up and having all the brackets all ready to go and ran it smoothly from the commentator's desk. So congratulations and well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, as we said before, it wouldn't have happened without your help and support and assistance.
I was there.
You were MC'd for the day. You were calling out all the matches, and we wouldn't have even had the location or any of the trophies and everything that you provided. So, absolutely.
I'll keep this one.
I thought that was the Dave Stockbridge of the Year one.
No. I did. Hang on, I've got that just off the screen here. Here we go.
That's what I thought you were setting up.
There we go. That's
the coveted Dave Stockbridge of the Year.
There's only one of those. So, I'm gonna pop that there.
That's right. Yeah. Do you think you'll get it again this year?
Well, I am nominated. I did hear that Vincent Ronaldo is out.
Oh, is he?
He's
injured?
He's not well. He's not well.
And pulled his groin.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's pulled. But he won't be. But that doesn't mean that our other nemesis, the other Vince
Colostrum,
Vince Colosimo, from what I have heard, he has mailed in a nomination, and the committee's considering it. So we'll see what transpires there. So,
is there a perusal process going on?
Well, there's a series of gatekeepers that are involved here, and there's a nomination committee. Then it goes to the events committee, and then it gets. If there's any conflict there, then my mum has the casting vote. Right. And so depending on what mum says about it, I could well find myself competing for the Dave Stockbridge Year Award against Vince Colosimo once more.
Yeah, did he send her flowers on Mother's Day? I think he did.
So there were flowers, and I didn't send her. She doesn't have any other children, so...
He's one step ahead of you, I think. Well, we'll see if you're able to retain the title.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Your own name.
There'll be a big ceremony at Crown Casino again, and
Kerry Packer will be there.
Yes, in spirit. In spirit. Yeah, this is the spirit of Kerry Packer there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That back in screen. So Matt, a massive success. The Titans Open. We last man standing, which is was an adjunct. It was going to be at the end of the day, 1 hour of power on the arm wrestling table, just one after the other. So we're basically setting up a Congo line of arm wrestlers for an hour who would be rotating their way through. If they drop out of order, they would be dropped out of the competition and unable to continue. Yep. The athlete that spent the most time on the table in the king position, they would be a winner, and they would receive a $500 prize, cash prize. And the athlete that was the last man standing at the end of the hour would also be declared a $500 winner. So that was a little innovation for the end of the day, as a bit of light-hearted entertainment, but also as a chance for basically anybody to potentially walk away with a prize at the end of the day, regardless of what their weight class may be. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all works out. So there will be 1 hour last man standing event coming up very, very soon in the Titans calendar.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, we'll have to run it as a separate event. We were running out of time in terms of the tournament
We
day.
Literally would have been here till 10 o'clock.
That's right. Like, just win the thing. There's no one here. Just be at the table.
It's just
Does
Matt.
anyone care?
I won.
Yeah, it's me. The hour's finished.
Jake's gone home.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody cares.
Just the cleaner.
Just Morris in the corner.
Yeah. I always believed in you, Matt.
He's got a bat for bouncing a ball.
We're waiting for you on Monday night.
That's right. You've always got a home at Southern Table Tennis.
Your arm wrestler friends might have abandoned you, Matt, but we're still waiting for you.
And it's always a shadow, even though in a perfectly
I can't
lit
do
room.
that at the same time.
No,
but that's why he. Yeah,
That's right. And a trench coat.
in summer.
That's right.
There's no air conditioning at the club, which makes it warm. But
He's committed though.
So Titans Open, massive success, and rather unfortunate that it happened to clash with another state title on the weekend there at a state title at the ACT state titles that took place. I believe we'd organised the event, we set the dates, we'd informed the Arm Wrestling Federation that we weren't going to be able to conform with their rules due to sponsorship arrangements, investments already made, and unfortunately a lack of resources that does come back from the other way. So running these events isn't cheap. The trophies don't pay for themselves, and sponsors are required in order to ensure the success of these events. So there were several components of the event that had already been locked in that we weren't able to change, and we'd also expressed our will to have a in-straps event, which I think, again, otherwise we would have been here for 8 hours during the day. So I think that was an absolute godsend. But that just kind of meant that the event fell outside of the rule set.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the AAF runs under the WAF Federation rules, the World Arm Wrestling Federation rules, which they have a qualification that if you win the national tournament, you get qualified to be able to compete in the world tournament. So they sort of have to follow their regulations and their rule sets, which is why we couldn't run under that, because we were like, we're going to start in straps, we're going to be doing these different things, and it's like, well, that's outside of the regulations that we need to meet to be qualified for the WAF regulation. So we understood that, and it's like, okay, well, we've got the event ready, we've got the sponsor on board, we're going to run the event.
It is the way it is, and very interesting that the standard rule set and the affiliation and the opportunity for progression to go into worlds and that type of thing is maybe was the one of the few pathways available not that long ago. But now, of course, all of that's dropped aside. I don't know any of the top athletes that are now talking about world championships or anything like that. They're talking about East versus West. They're talking about King of the Table. They're talking about these events that are happening outside of the auspices of the traditional organisations. And you know what? It looks like the sport's better for it. And that's my observation. I'm seeing more people engaged, more people interested, more eyes on the sport than ever before. And, I think that's pretty much the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those people that are able to pull together the best matchups, that are able to put on the best events, that are able to look after the athletes better than anybody else, who are able to ensure that everybody's having a great time, from the people that are volunteering for the event to the athletes themselves. Those people are be the ones that do great things in and for the sport, and those people that fail to do that are just going to be also runs who will find themselves left behind. So interesting times ahead in the world of arm wrestling. Really interesting times ahead for the Titans. We've got the last man standing coming up very, very shortly, so a date to be determined, and that'll be an opportunity again for we're all about getting arm wrestlers to go pro. We want more people. I would love to see it be a pathway for referees to be pro. So I would love to see that. So we'd love to see arm wrestlers go pro, and so that's why you'll see with any event that we're involved in, there's going to be prize money on the table, so that the athletes have not just a reason to compete, but a reason to feel that they're making a step in the direction of becoming a full-time professional arm wrestler.
Yeah.
If that's what their passion is, that's what we want to support.
Absolutely. There's definitely a sense of growth in the sport, and it's sort of, a lot of people are trying to find which is the best way to go forwards. And what we've had in the past is, the associations and organizations that ran tournaments and ran world championships. And then at this point in time, you've got people putting on big events, and it's a one-off event, and it's East versus West, or it's King of the Table, or it's, these big super matches that they just put them together. And it feels like a lot of people are sort of trying different things, and which is, it feels to me like it's at that ground level, like somebody's going to figure it out, and that's the thing that's going to take off. And you saw it with MMA. I mean, there was Pancrase, and there was all these different sort of King of the Cage, and all these other organizations that were out there that were no holds barred fighting. But it wasn't until the UFC really picked up, and even in their first 13, 14 events, they were losing money. And then they got banned from every state in the country, and they ended up selling. But luckily, somebody like Dana White and the Fertitta brothers were smart enough and good at marketing. They knew what they were buying, and they were able to put something together, find the right formula, and find enormous success and become the leader. And it's like, that is the thing. And people would say, oh, do you train UFC, or do you fight UFC? Instead of cage fighting, or instead of MMA, it became, that was the number one.
It's been really interesting just in being in conversations with some of the thought leaders within the sport about what that might even look like. And it's very much the Wild West at the moment in arm wrestling. As its popularity soars, money starts to trickle into the sport, opportunities start to emerge, and platforms start to be created, and we're seeing that at the top levels of the sport now, where East versus West and King of the Table are certainly solidifying themselves as being those two major events that I think the top athletes look to be on that card before they'd be bothered with a world championship or a national championship or something like that. This is very definitely those two promotions attract the attention of the best people in sport. So what's very interesting is what's going on with the emerging talent in the background. We're seeing some of Neil Pickup's work in the background there with Arm Wars and trying to build some of these personalities, trying to build that second tier as to a level where all of a sudden they're finding their way onto these cards. And albeit at the bottom end of the cards, but nonetheless, you've got this second tier talent now starting to flow through, and some of these names that maybe you wouldn't have been so familiar with 12 or 18 months ago or even heard of are now in the mix. And so that's what's really exciting for me. What's not just happening at the top level for the Dave Chaffees and the Devon Larratts and these guys, but what's happening just underneath for some of these more obscure names that are just starting to hit their straps in terms of their capability, but also in terms of their branding and their emergence as a personal personal brand, as a recognizable figure in the sport.
Absolutely, yeah. It is. It is really interesting to see when companies get it right and they hit the nail on the head with the audience, and the audience really responds well. And it's like if you get that formula correct, you don't have to have the best guys, but the best guys will start coming to you because everyone starts talking about your event or the event that really sort of hit the mark. And it's great to see it when people get it right. And it's like, oh, where did they start? And you sort of look back at the history. It's like they were doing these tiny little things until this moment. And then they found that this is what they did differently. Yeah. I remember Chael Sonnen, who is a mixed martial artist fought in the UFC. For his first, 5 fights, let's say, in the UFC, he wasn't that outspoken or anything like that. Just gave regular interviews. He's a really smart guy, and he was entertaining to a little degree. It wasn't like going all out. But then all of a sudden, he changed big time. He realized, you could see the change. He realized I can make a lot more money if I start talking trash and getting noticed and getting people to pay attention to me. And so he did, and he would give these amazing 1 hour talks about how he was going to destroy his opponent, and it was funny, and there was all these one-liner jokes, and there was all these moments that were clipped, and he would put them all out, and people were covering it and going, oh, you heard what Chael Sonnen says, and they're like, who's Chael Sonnen? And then, but it picked him up, and he actually got world championship fights, which he probably shouldn't have got, but based off of that. And it's always fun when
because people were all of a sudden interested. They were interested in they're interested in either winning or being beaten, but they were interested. And if you're a promoter of any type of event, well, you've got to make money, and you're going to make money out of bums on seats or eyes on screens. And if there's nobody hyping the fight, and you've got two very, very proficient technical athletes that are out there, but they're boring. No one's going to watch. Who cares how good they are? But if you've got a personality there, but whatever the personality is, these people, you're going to get people that love them. You're going to get people that hate them because they know someone that's kind of like that, or they don't like that personality. So they don't like those brash kind of ego athletes who talk shit. They don't like those people. So all of a sudden, I hate that guy. And then people will take the opposing view, and I like the Conor McGregor because he does talk a bit of shit, and then he delivers somehow, and so you get this mystic Matt kind of vibe. People, that's what makes people interested in sport. And that's not saying to athletes you've got to be something that you're not, but if you happen to be a great communicator, and you happen to understand the value of narrative, and you happen to also believe that your personal brand has got a value, well, how valuable that personal brand and what opportunities that personal brand opens up to you simply comes down to how you project that brand to the rest of the world. And this is where athletes across sports, and especially in combat sports, have a great opportunity. If they happen to be able to back up the smack talk with some action, then you've got yourself something very, very special. And Chael was able to do that to a very large degree and elevate himself onto the biggest stages that that the MMA world had to offer.
Absolutely, yeah. And I remember hearing the whispers about, do you hear about this Conor McGregor guy? Just when he just started, because he was funny, he was entertaining, he was saying stuff in between rounds that, they would replay. You see these little clips of it. It's like, I don't know who the guy is, but he's funny. And it was just this groundswell of, have you heard of him? Oh, let's see. And then, he continued to back that up with good wins, and then the more personality, and it became a hype machine.
Yeah.
And it's hard to derail a hype machine, even with a loss, especially if the loss, was close or it was competitive. But it's always fun to see somebody just break through and get that notice and get that attention. And I think with arm wrestling, that an organization or a moment or somebody or something will really start pushing. And most of the time when people do talk to me about arm wrestling that, have never talked to me about it before, they just find out about it. Have you heard of Schoolboy? Have you heard of Devin Larratt? That's the two names that always come up.
Yeah, yeah.
And
they're the gateway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They don't know John Brezink. They don't know, Jerry Carteret. They don't know Michael Todd.
And so what you've got there is that you've got Schoolboy, who's the whole shtick there was that he was a boy who was beating physically bigger people. Now he's 6'8" and 500 pounds. That's a little bit different. But the whole narrative was you've got a little stick boy and somehow he's beating all the muscle men at Times Square in New York. So that's your thing. So arm wrestling's now Karate Kid. Arm wrestling's now the Gracies. Gracies, like the small man beating the bigger man. This is the mystery of arm wrestling. Okay, so this is something. And then on the other side, you've got Devin Larratt, who's the Conor McGregor of the arm wrestling world. Yep. And so you've got those two, and this is maybe where Schoolboy's branding, and I know Jake Ward just recently did a video about, okay, we've got to stop calling him. He stopped calling himself Schoolboy.
Has he?
He removed the Schoolboy handle apparently off of Instagram recently, and
that's a mistake.
And Jake Ward, it is a mistake. It is a mistake. But Jake Ward made mention of it. What's another nickname for him now? Like, where does his brand go from here? Because obviously he's now 24, 25 years old, and he's a giant. So, it's a little bit hard to continue perhaps with that Schoolboy persona. But is he just Schoolboy for life now? Maybe he is. Maybe that's the brand.
He should be.
He should be.
Everyone knows him as that. It's like you've built this brand. Everyone has recognizes you. People around the world recognize you as Schoolboy, and you're going to give it up.
Yeah. It's just that incongruence, probably. That and as a young man of his, all of his own now, he might feel like it served its purpose, and now he's a full grown. Now he needs to be taken seriously. Maybe he feels the Schoolboy moniker means that those at the elite level think of him as something less than perhaps his potential might suggest. But who knows what his thinking is? No doubt it's in Russian.
He could be not Schoolboy.
He could be not Schoolboy. So all the options are on the table. But so you've got Schoolboy. So that was the narrative for Schoolboy. Skinny kid, beating big guys. That's what made it attractive for a lot. That's the Gracie's phenomenon in MMA. And then on the other side, you've got the smack talk that can be backed up, and that's your Devin Larratt. And then amongst there's room for all the other personalities. But because of those two narratives and those two personality types are so strong and conjure, you've got the David and Goliath, you've got the St. George against the Dragon in that whole Schoolboy shtick, and then over here you've got the other, and that's two very alluring, very attractive things for and themes, very easy themes for people to fall for, and so that's why they're such great funnels into the sport. Both of those individuals deserve their high profile in the sport because of what they do in terms of attracting attention and interest. Not because of arm wrestling, but because of the story attached that arm wrestling's telling through them, and that's what makes them compelling figures and once in a generation figures perhaps in the sport. And then you've got Ryan Bowen, who is the smack talker as well, who plays the role of heel a lot. Very happy to switch to heel, be that guy that people love to hate, and every sport needs that. And so it's funny how you see some of these athletes just quite naturally assume some of these roles, it's been actually what I've been really interestingly in observation of is the U-turn in Monster Michael Todd's online persona, from heel bad guy, sore loser, somebody who people found it hard to love, to somebody who's now who's quite endearing, who is great to watch, who's smiling all the time, who's always grateful, very, very different to what people thought of Michael Todd before he'd started his YouTube channel. But 100,000 subs later, I think he's just celebrated 100,000 subs later. He's building an audience, not because of what people thought he was. Now, if he never did his YouTube channel, people would still think Michael Todd, sore loser, WAL, awkward to watch, not fun, like not a fun athlete necessarily to watch on the table because of his style, maybe controversial, is he a cheater, we don't know, maligned character, to now well-loved father figure within arm wrestling. People want to see him do well. He's the opposite of a heel. And he's been able to transform people's perception of him simply because he's been able to expose himself consistently over a period of time, so that people can actually see the soul of the man and look into his eyes and know that there's a really good human being there, which maybe 2 or 3 years ago people would not have thought that off the top of their head about the monster Michael Todd.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Yeah, he's done a great job with his YouTube channel, and he seems like he is a really good guy. Like he's personable. He's doing arm wrestling in public constantly, and being friendly and nice.
A great ambassador of the sport.
Absolutely.
His wife seems delightful.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both very dedicated, very hardworking,
very
people.
Passionate.
Absolutely. And to see him finding that success and finding some positivity from the arm wrestling world, instead of just overwhelmingly negative, hateful comments that are directed because all they saw of him is those moments on the table. And it's like, well, he's very passionate about the sport, and those elements are what's really important to him. But when you know more about who he actually is, then you understand the reason why he's so passionate about it. But yeah, it is. You have the ability now, thankfully, to start a channel and tell people who you are, and this is who I am when I'm doing. These are the sorts of things that I like to do, and you can paint a different picture from the audience's perspective as to, well, this is what I'm really like, and it's hard, very, very hard to fake that. And it's very obvious.
Especially over a long period of time.
That's right.
So if people are seeing you 2 or 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to expose yourself at some point, But you don't see Michael Todd kind of screaming at his missus about anything. You don't see that perhaps what people might have thought of Michael Todd ever emerging in his channel. It's just genuinely a nice bloke that you wouldn't mind having a beer with, or an arm wrestle with, and you enjoy the conversation and the company of the man if you had the great pleasure of it.
It's funny to see the opposite happen as well. Have you seen that, where somebody is revered as a hero from their sporting prowess, and then it's like when they are interviewed or when they get some public attention outside of the sport, and then it's like, oh, this guy's actually a dick. It's I've seen it a couple times, but it's rarer, but it's kind of funny when people are so supportive of this person. They don't know who he is. They've probably never met the guy, and never will. But it's like,
I think that was more likely to happen in the pre-social media days as well. Where you might have only ever seen this guy on TV when he was kicking goals for the club you love, or accepting a medal in front of all of his peers, or getting a pat on the back from the commentator that you've been watching every week since you were 7 years old, or something like that. And you have a picture of perfectness in your mind about someone, and then you realise oh, hang on. This bloke kicks his dog when he gets home.
I remember reading one of the guys on one of the forums that I'm on about he was enamored with a certain baseball player as a kid. He was, and he had attended one of the games, and after the game, as they were leaving, he had a shirt. He wanted the guy to sign the shirt, and the guy threw it in the bin. And then gave him the finger as they were driving out.
That guy was drunk on fame.
Horrible.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Imagine the crushing feeling of that fan, just like,
yeah. And back in the day when the voice of a young kid, I mean, there was no way, you tell your dad or your mum, you're probably even too embarrassed to tell your friends, and that story would never get out. And now, your mum, who might be a Karen, might be taping that in the background over your shoulder as that happens and sees it. Before you know it, 3.4 million people have seen it on TikTok, and it's the end of your career, and your team cancels you, and your manager, suspends you for 6 months, and all the sponsors drop out within a fortnight, and that's the difference in the digital age. It is. These people get exposed super quickly.
Absolutely. It's interesting that people have a perception of what somebody is like because they've seen them on certain movies or shows or in sports, and it's like, oh no, he's a really nice guy. It's like, you ever met the guy? Like,
well, there's a couple of, if you get exposure to somebody over a period of time, obviously you get to know them pretty well, right. And but also when you see people when they're tired, that's normally you start to see the cracks emerge. People aren't all themselves when they're just a little bit, they get a bit cranky and a bit crabby and a bit touchy, and the worst of themselves seems to be able to seep through to the surface, and that's why it's so amazing when you do meet somebody like Jake Ward, who after 6 hours, understanding how much discomfort he is in as he is still waiting for his hip operation, he hobbles around like an octogenarian. He's really struggling to get around. Just even walking from the airport was you could see it was a painful ordeal for him, and then for him to come here, even help us, then get set up, then spend the day but behind the commentary table, and to end that day with such high energy. And not a bad word to say about anyone, completely gracious, as if fans were approaching him all day and just thrilled to have that chance to have a chat to somebody they've been watching on YouTube. And for him to be so accommodating and gracious with his time and taking that opportunity to talk to these guys who are genuinely fans, and not a crook word out of his mouth all day about any of it, and not a word of complaint. And after seeing somebody like Jake Ward give their all for a day like that, it makes you, that's one of those situations where I am glad I met one of my heroes, and got to see him up close, because there are stars like Jake Ward out there, and they're few and far between, but there are stars out there that over-deliver and give you faith in humanity.
Absolutely, yeah. Even after the event, I mean, we went out for dinner. He was still high spirits, talking very positively about how everything went, and this is the sort of guy you'd love to hang around, because it's like, no matter what, I mean, he's been through a lot of adversity, and just have that positive attitude. It's like, well, if I have to sit in a chair for 6 hours, compared to the things I've been through, like this, I'm glad to be here, and I'm happy to be here, and it's just awesome to be around him. And one of my favorite moments of the day, as I was setting up all the brackets and trying to organize stuff, he volunteered to, thankfully, sign everybody in, and everyone had to weigh in, and he would weigh everybody in. So everyone that was competing in the tournament had to go and see Jake, and I could hear him because I was standing right in front of me, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. I'm a big fan. Watch all your show all the time." And he's like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then the next guy, "Oh, it's so great that you're here." So, so he got a lot of 30, 40 people saying that they're really big fans, and genuine comments that they're knowledgeable about what he does. And that was just like, it's a nice feeling that people are being so supportive of him. And he come back to the table, he's like, "I don't take compliments very well."
I just happened to be privy to a conversation that Jake was having with his wife Jess as we were leaving after the event, and he was saying, "Oh, the guys," it was saying exactly, "Oh, the guys were great," and and she went, "Yeah, well, you don't take that well, do you?" "Oh, no, it's a little bit awkward, but it's great that they're watching." It's just, you forget forget that people are watching sometimes. It's great when they come up and they remind you that it's all worthwhile. And Jake got a buzz out of that as well, and as did the athletes, of course, meeting somebody that they're watching every day. It's a very, very cool thing for athletes and all involved. I would suggest. I certainly got a hoot out of it as well. So spectacular event, more to come. Titans. Big events coming up. So we've got the Last Man Standing coming very, very soon. So we will have that as a standalone event, which I guess is befitting the title of the event, isn't it? The Last Man Standing.
It'd probably be easier for me to run it that way.
You'll probably have more fun. You might even be able to get up on the table, Mark.
Yeah, I'll come in right at the end.
And of course, rumours are already swirling about big events on the horizon. So we're very, very much looking forward to that. But one big event that we can announce is Apex 3 on the 25th of February at the Nord Oval. This will be the third time that the Titans will be back there, and of course we'll be sending out invitations to athletes around the country to join us for the day. It's an all-day combat and strength sports spectacular. So throughout the day you'll see arm wrestling, of course, medieval battlers, which is
that's my favourite.
That's nuts when you see these guys swinging actual axes at each other's heads. And you think, there must be. I
feel like I was watching a murder
cosplay nerds. That's what they are, and you see them waddle around in their little thing. But they're like 200-pound solid steel suits, and they go absolutely nuts in them for hours. And it's one of the most violent things you're likely to see in your life. I'll be honest with you. Like if you bring small children. Maybe think twice before you head over there. They might have questions you don't know how to answer afterwards. So strongmans are coming back as well. Modified rugby rules. So that'll be super interesting. So I think they're looking at a 5 or a 6-a-side matchup between several of the leading clubs here in Adelaide. Roman Greco wrestling, BJJ, of course, back in the tent in the big marquee. So that'll be a huge entertainment through the early part of the day. And we will have Sanshu, which is like a modified kickboxing rules in the cage, as well as, of course, it all culminates with DFC 16. So there's some rumours around title belts. So there's rumours already circulating that Damien Volar coming for the Honey Volar after his most recent performance at DFC.
Wow.
He called out Craig Ike and said, next time I'm coming here, I'm coming for the strap in his victory speech, and he might well get his wish. So we'll see what happens there for the young local heavyweight there. So exciting times for Damien Volar. Joe the Vanilla Gorilla Brown will be, of course, back for more, coming off of 2 spectacular recent performances. Always a crowd pleaser. Some of the best walkout music as well. I think Money for Nothing is his walkout music. And a great friend of the podcast, Louis, the Junkyard Dog Passon, who put in an epic 18-second performance that people are still talking about at the last Apex. He's coming back again. So you've got some
top dog award. Is it?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have to find a dog worthy as an opponent, perhaps. But along with a whole bunch of interstate and rumoured about featuring a international superstar that Hollywood Matt Connelly, I know you'll be very, very familiar with, and so this will be something for the ages. So this will be an absolutely spectacular event in front of thousands of people at the Nord Oval. It's an all-day event, kicks off at about 11 o'clock and goes right through for almost the 12 hours. So by the time we end up finishing the call at DFC, it's going to be approaching about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So tickets will buy you close to 12 hours of sporting entertainment, and access to the grandstands and more. So stay tuned. Tickets will be on sale very, very soon. And, of course, the Titans will be back there again. I'm sure Hollywood Matt Connelly will be putting on his thinking cap right now, just wondering what kind of event will we be holding there. And, there'll be... wouldn't it be wonderful to see arm wrestling find its way back into the cage just one more time? I think.
It will.
Yeah. So we've got a lot to look forward to, as well as some very interesting stuff that we can't yet talk about, but that'll be coming your way very, very soon. So
the Apex events are amazing. If you've ever thought about going to, you need to go. It's incredible. The fact that you can just literally walk 2 meters and there's another sport that's taking place right then. And it's not just like, it's the same version or a different version of the same sport. It's strongman, it's arm wrestling, it's jiu-jitsu, there's kickboxing, there's, the rugby, there's also wrestling. And then you've got...
There's been kickboxing, boxing previously as well.
Medieval nights. And then you've got, at the end of the day, even if you've seen all of that, you get to see a full MMA card take place. A
full high-level MMA card. Hopefully, Triple A Shane Mitchell is his calf is healed and he's ready to compete as well. So you could well be seeing several of the best MMA fighters in the country there, which would be worth the price of admission on its own, even if you just turned up for the last 2 hours and watched the DFC show. You'd have more than your money's worth. But the fact of the matter is, if you get there all day, you've got a great day ahead of you. And so Apex Sport Fest, Nord Oval, 25th of February, absolutely huge day. I can't wait to be there, cage side, and Matt, I'm betting you'll be on the tables most of the day,
absolutely,
officiating and making sure that all is running smoothly in the arm wrestling part of the world.
Yeah, for sure. No, you've got me thinking now of what the event. I did like that idea of setting the table on fire. That was
I'd like to dig out a moat around the table, fill the moat with crocodiles. Or medieval fighters. And a drawbridge.
Yeah. You got to walk. That's how you get into the arena.
Yes, and to fight. Yeah, we'd have to talk to Nord Oval management about.
I'm sure they'd be fine
upsetting some of the turf. Yeah,
they usually do that.
They'll be fine with crocodiles.
It's pretty standard for them. And electrified barbed wire maybe as well.
Yeah,
some of that.
I think that happens at the pin. So instead of a cushion. What we got is electrified, just any type of metal.
So you know when you've lost.
Yeah, so when you've lost, but if it's straight to straps, obviously both of you. But I don't know, but maybe that's part of the fun as well. I don't know.
Part of the fun. Yeah, you can pretend that you're Zap.
So innovations in the world of arm wrestling coming your way, courtesy of crocodiles and electricity. So lots to look forward to. Apex Sport Fest 3. There may not be high voltage involved, but we certainly look forward to bringing you more.
DiamondbackFC.com to find tickets for that.
Absolutely, they'll be released very, very soon. The date is locked in, and we are ready to go. So this is going to be absolutely massive. 25th of February. At the Nord Oval here in Adelaide. So book your accommodation nice and early. Make sure that's the easiest way to get it cheapest. Get your flights in nice and early, and enjoy a couple of days in Adelaide. Perhaps enjoy the Apex Sport Fest, and maybe just head up to the beautiful Barossa or down to the Southern Vales and enjoy some table tennis or whatever it might be.
Say hi to Morris for me.
Yeah, so
he'll be in the corner.
So thank you very much for joining us again on the podcast. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. We'd like to thank our sponsors, the Real Estate Agents Group, Lamy Largo, our sponsors, and there's the guys there. Let's just get them on there. Yeah, the guys there at Real, and of course Hollywood Matt Connelly with the double biceps. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. All contractual obligations have now been fulfilled, and we'll just look forward to bringing you a whole lot more of this next week.
Sounds good.
Cheers, guys.